Welcome back to Math Workshop. Today we will be reviewing our 3D shapes and making composite shapes using 3D shapes. So today you're going to need either a paper and pencil or a whiteboard and marker or your 3D shapes to follow along. So if you haven't gathered those, make sure you stop the video and go get your materials so that you could follow along as we build. Okay, now that you have gathered all your materials, let's do a quick review of our 3D shapes that we talked about last week. The first shape that we talked about was the cone. The second shape that we talked about was the cube. We also talked about the cylinder and the sphere. And lastly, the rectangular prism. So today we are going to be using these shapes to build. Remember that these different shapes have different faces and that there is different sides that we could touch and feel to these shapes. Let's get started. I'm going to give you some directions and you are going to build the picture that I am telling you. You have to listen very carefully. You can either draw this picture by writing it down on your piece of paper or by using your shapes to build it. Let me show you what I mean. The first structure that I want you to build is going to use two shapes. How many shapes? Two 3D shapes. The first thing I want you to do is to take your cube and put one of the faces of the cube on the table. Then you're going to place a cone right on top of the cube, like this. So if you are using shapes, your structure should look like this. If you are using a paper and pencil, your structure should look like this. You can also do it on a whiteboard. Are you ready? Listen carefully to the directions before you start building. First, you're going to take a rectangular prism. Then you're going to put a cube right in the middle of the rectangular prism. Next, you're going to take a cone and put it on top of the cube. Go ahead and try to build it before I show you and see if your structure is like mine. So first, you should have taken a rectangular prism. Next, place a cube right in the middle of the rectangular prism. And last, put a cone right in the middle of the cube. Does your structure look like this? Great! Ready for our last one? Alright, this one is going to be harder, so make sure that you pay close attention to the directions. We're going to use 5 composite shapes to build this new structure. How many? Alright, let's see if you are ready. The first thing that you have to do is grab a cube and place it with one of the faces touching the table. The second thing that you have to do is grab a cylinder and place it right next to the cube so that they are touching each other. The third thing that you're going to do is take a rectangular prism and put it on top of the cube. Next, you're going to place a cone with the face of the cone touching the cylinder. And last, you're going to take a sphere and put it right on top of the cone. Ready? Does your structure look something like this? First, we took the cone. Then we put the cylinder next to the cone, touching them. Next, we put the rectangular prism on top of the cube. Next, we put a cone on top of the cylinder. And last, we put the sphere on top of the cube. Does your structure look like this? Hopefully it looks very close. Today, for your problem set, you're going to continue building different structures using your shapes. You can ask a sibling to do it, that means your brother or sister. You can ask a parent to do it. You could be the one giving the directions, and they could be the ones either building with the different shapes that you have at home, or you could have them draw it. Let's take a look at your problem set for today. Problem set for today, you are going to build a structure using your 3D shapes just like I did. Think about the directions and the shapes you want to use before you get started. Then you could ask someone to try to build the structure using your directions. Once they have done that, complete the chart to record the number of each shape you used to make the structure. So if you used 1 cube, you will write 1. If you use 2 spheres, then you would write 2, and so on. You only have to do this for one structure that you build. You can use any items that you have at home that we gathered last week in our scavenger hunt. Then you're going to answer some questions. Which shape did you use at the bottom of your structure? You could use a rectangular prism or whatever you like, and then you write it down and tell us why. Is there a shape that you chose not to use? Why or why not? Maybe you didn't use the sphere because it's too hard to keep steady. It kept rolling off. Make sure you answer those questions. After that, you're going to try to build a structure following these directions. Maria made a structure using her 3D shapes. Use your shapes to try to make the same structure as Maria as your teacher reads the descriptions. So make sure you're listening. Maria's structures is the following. It has 1 rectangular prism with the shortest face touching the table, 1 cube on top and to the right of the rectangular prism, 1 cylinder on top of the cube with the circular face touching the cube. Go ahead, Bruins and Highlanders, try to build this structure. Don't forget to send us a picture of your work to see if you got it all correct. See you next time.